The hardest phrase in sports to say is also the most exciting. Rivalry week is in the books for college football, and what an exciting week it was. I'm joined at the desk by Ennis, Warlick, and David Flynt to break down exactly what we saw. So guys, Tua Tagovailoa and Kyler Murray both had huge weeks and big wins. Who had the bigger week? Ennis?
I'm going to go ahead and roll with Tua here, and the only reason I'm going to do that is just because of Auburn's defense has produced pretty much all year. The highest point total they've given up has been pretty much in like the high 20s. They both put up similar stat lines. It's kind of hard to roll with either of them because they have pretty similar stat lines, but I'm just going to have to go with Tua this week.
Not a bad choice, but I'm going with Kyler Murray. 364 pass yards, 4 TDs, had one pick, yes, but also 114 rush yards and a TD there. 500 yards of offense single-handedly accounted to Kyler Murray. Now, it's in the Big 12 where defense doesn't exist.
Exactly.
But still, to have 500 yards of offense to one player, you can't go against that.
It's crazy that these two combined for 10 touchdowns. They have to be the two Heisman favorites, right? I think coming down the stretch, close to them in New York. David, which rivalry is the most overlooked?
Right now, it's Washington versus Washington State, the Apple Cup. Part of that is they're on the West Coast where, especially if it's a late game, people aren't up to watch. But, I mean, this year it was in a blizzard. Washington State was supposed to win, and normally they have a high-flying offense, but the blizzard kind of neutralized that. And Washington, who doesn't love Mike Leach?
Exactly. Absolutely.
And Washington, who's not really had the greatest of years after that opening letdown to Auburn, they came out and they beat the Cougars and beat them pretty bad. So right now it's that rivalry.
I'm going to have to go with Army and Navy, and the only reason why I say this is overlooked is just because it's just not two hot-button teams that are really competing for playoff spots, but it's still a good rivalry. Navy's sort of dominated the competition for the past few years, but every game, at least in the past 5 years, have been pretty close. If you look at the game that just happened, it was 14-13. I would go with Army and Navy.
It doesn't sound exciting, right? But 14-13, that's a great game. And also, we saw Keenan Reynolds dominate that rivalry for so long. Other side of the spectrum, which rivalry is no longer competitive, Ennis?
I'm going to have to go with my home state, UVA. Virginia Tech rivalry, it's just not competitive. It's horrible to watch. The last game that the Cavaliers won was in 2004 when I was in kindergarten. Just not a competitive game. If you watched the game last Saturday, it just was UVA pretty much did everything they could to lose that game. Just not a competitive series.
As a fellow Virginian, I agree with you, but right now I got to go with Florida versus Florida State.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
What in the world has happened in Tallahassee? Willie Taggart forgot how to coach, apparently, and his players have not responded at all.
Not at all.
The Gators absolutely embarrassed them on their own field in a rivalry that, until recently, they were expected to win. Florida has been good, but of course, Florida State had Jameis Winston and Dalvin
you bet
Cook.
they missed Jimbo Fisher, and on the UVA, stick to basketball, I guess.
Absolutely.
Next time we're here, guys, final college football playoff rankings will be out. Get excited. But that's all time we have for this college football rivalry block. When we come back, Andrew and I are going to break down some truly terrible athlete outfits.